Greetings, I'm Steve the Water Guy. I've spent 28 years in the water purification industry, building, testing, and living with machines that make highly purified water. Why? Because that's what I want to drink, and I've been drinking a lot of it every day for the past 30 years without adding any minerals back. And I know I'm better health because of it, not in spite of it. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you and tell you why. The real question isn't whether distilled water is bad for you, it's whether adding minerals back might be. One of the most common concerns is this, that drinking pure water with no minerals will leach minerals from our body. On the surface, that initially seems like a reasonable concern or possibility, but here's what the science actually tells us. First, the minerals you eat in plant foods end up inside the cells of your body. And I say plant foods because studies show us that minerals from drinking water account for less than 5% of your daily mineral intake at best. The other 95% have to come from plant foods and to a lesser extent, healthy animal products. Second, it's impossible for those minerals to cross through the cell wall barrier in either direction, no matter how much mineral-free water we drink. In other words, it's impossible for distilled water to leach beneficial minerals from our bodies. So the solution to mineral deficiency is not mineral-rich water, it's mineral-rich food. And that's my recommendation after 30 years in this business. Now, notice I said beneficial minerals because there are minerals in our bodies that are not beneficial. I'm talking about inorganic mineral deposits that end up in places we don't want them, as in our arteries and joints, in locations. Inorganic minerals cause problems like hardening of the arteries and arthritic pain. Now here's something very interesting, and I want to be upfront that what I'm about to say is not proven science, but there is a mountain of anecdotal evidence suggesting pure water, absent of any inorganic minerals, may actually slowly over time leach inorganic mineral deposits from our joints and arteries. The studies haven't been done, and I don't expect they will be. There's simply no money in funding that research. Nobody's going to get rich proving distilled water reduces or eliminates arthritic pain, but a lot of people who drink distilled water claim it does. But we do have this, a study I'll link in the description, showing that calcium carbonate supplements, the same stuff used in most remineralization filters, are associated with increased arterial calcification, hardening of the arteries, one of the most common and serious health problems people face today, especially as we get older. And here's my personal data point. I'm 72 years old. I've been drinking distilled water for 30 years. I have no arthritic pain. My most recent CT calcium score measuring arterial calcification was 0 in the 97th percentile for my age. I'm not a doctor and this isn't medical advice, but it's a data point worth mentioning and worth somebody researching. I often hear the argument we should drink mineralized water because our ancestors did, from creeks and streams. But their average lifespan was only 35 to 40 years, and the long-term effects of drinking mineralized water, which I'll remind you is dissolved rock, developed slowly over decades. They simply didn't live long enough to experience hardening of the arteries or arthritic pain. Today we have access to highly purified water that's both pollutant-free and mineral-free, a choice they didn't have and one I'm very happy and fortunate I can make for myself. And to put mineral content in perspective, you'd have to drink 4 to 5 liters of mineralized water to get the same bioavailable calcium as this small serving of fresh kale, or drink roughly 8 gallons of remineralized water to get the magnesium in these 2 cups of cooked spinach. Now, I want to briefly mention teeth and bones because there's a popular YouTube dentist scaring everyone with misinformation. I'll say this quickly. Does drinking RO or distilled water, 1, cause tooth decay? No. Leach minerals from your teeth? No. Leach minerals from your bones? No. Will adding minerals back to purified water reduce tooth decay or bone loss? No. For a deep dive into those topics, take a look at my previous video. I'll link it in the description below. To conclude, I want to touch on a couple more things related to the topic, is distilled water bad for you? The first is the dead water myth. Water has no taste, none, 0. That's the whole point of pure water. It's nothing but H2O molecules. There is nothing in it to taste. I do a deep dive into this in my previous video as well, explaining where the myth comes from, what keeps it alive, and why it is absolutely not true. And finally, in case you don't know, the alkaline water fad has now run its course, and the only benefit there ever was had nothing to do with the alkalinity itself. It came instead from a very small amount of molecular hydrogen that some, not most, alkalizers produce as a byproduct of electrolysis. Because alkaline water can interfere with effective digestion, drinking molecular hydrogen in distilled water is actually much healthier than anything you can get from a water alkalizers. And I still see far too many people pushing alkalizers online that the science simply no longer supports. I also go into this in more detail in my previous video, linked in the description. So, is distilled water bad for you? After 28 years in this industry and 30 years drinking nothing else, the answer is no. The science doesn't support that, nor does the biology. And my own experience at 72 doesn't support it either. Of course, you're free to add minerals back, but the effects of what we drink are cumulative. You won't feel the difference in your 30s. Just wait until you're 70, 80, 90, and beyond. That's my belief after 30 years, and my CT calcium score of 0 at 72 is my evidence. My advice? Get your minerals from food. Organic minerals from fruits, vegetables, legumes, and quality animal products. That's what your body was designed to use. And drink the cleanest water you can afford to either buy or make yourself. If you found this video useful, please like and subscribe. I read every comment and I make videos about what you ask most. I'm Steve the Water Guy. I'll see you in the next on the next one. Go make it a great day.